Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see, we got some people in here. Can I get a show of hands? How many people in here have purchased a vehicle off of the New York State Vehicle Marketplace? All right, okay, so not total strangers. All right. Carol and I work on the OGS Procurement Services fleet team, and Carol's really the guru. I just kind of help out where I can't do any damage. Managing the, 110 dealers we have now on contract for the New York State Vehicle Marketplace. Mm-hmm. And, of course, this is for Class 1 through 8 vehicles, so everything from compact sedan all the way up through a dump truck. You can purchase all those off this award. But today, we're talking about EV, and pretty much every vehicle you've seen out here on the concourse or up on the plaza under the egg, you can get through our award, through the vehicle marketplace. What else? It is a second-tier competition system. For those of you who haven't used the vehicle marketplace, it is a mini bid system, meaning that you, as the authorized user of the contract, figure out your form, function, and utility, what kind of vehicle you want to buy, put your specs together, and put a bid out into the world using the tools that we provide on the vehicle marketplace webpage. And you get responses from our dealer community to that bid request, and then you make an award. It's I'm shortening the process a little bit, but in theory, that's really about all it is. Then you obviously do PO and pay for the vehicle, but yeah, it's pretty simple. How many people here have sold a vehicle on the New York State Vehicle Marketplace? Do we have any dealers? We got one. Oh, good. All right. So that's really what we're going to discuss today is how to go about electrifying your fleet by purchasing vehicles through the vehicle marketplace, what to look for, and answer any questions you might have about the process. And I'm going to throw it over to Carol right now.
So what we're basically going to do is just show you, I don't know, can you hear me? Is just kind of show you how to navigate the vehicle marketplace website, where to find the forms, where to find supporting material, instructions, how to use, how to use the contract basically. So what Seth's showing you here is basically the state agencies and the flow and how they need to request their vehicles and the levels of approvals that they need to go through for that. And then on the other side is non-state agencies. So there's always a little bit of a confusion as to what's considered a state agency and what's considered a non-state agency. A lot of school districts believe that they are considered a state agency that would require that extra level of approval, which in fact that they are not. So executive agencies would be something like Office of General Services, Department of Motor Vehicle, and that sort of thing. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I was just giving a quick glimpse. Of course, all this information is available on the New York State Vehicle Marketplace webpage. You can reach it through the OGS webpage. But let's get right in here. We've kind of separated everything into two parts. For the dealers, that's all the resources the dealers need to participate once they're on contract, of course, in responding to bid requests. The vehicle buyer side, that's all the resources you need as a buyer for your agency, authority, your organization to be able to go and put a bid request out into the world. And so I'm going to start on that side real quick here. We've got step-by-step instructions. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty here. This is all stuff you can go right back to your office and look at. We do have some exclusions. Transit and school buses are among those, which coincidentally I am over those awards as well. So if you want to come see me after this, if you have any questions about that, I'll be available. Heavy construction equipment, we let our own award on that as well. But basically everything else, class 1 through 8, is available on the marketplace. Let's see here. And we got all our resources, request forms, and evaluation. So this basically walks you down exactly how you're going to go and buy a vehicle. Now, there's really only one difference, if any, between purchasing a non-EV vehicle and an EV vehicle, and that is quite literally just how you spec it out when you put your bid request in. When you say, I want instead of saying gas or hybrid, you're going to say EV. And we always recommend that our authorized users cast the widest net as possible when they're trying to get a vehicle, obviously within their needs, but you want to get as many responses as possible. And to do that, you really do want to cast that wide net. And if you want just an EV sedan, you can do that. You just say you want EV, any make or model, and then you should just get bids for electric vehicles. And same goes for any other type of vehicle. You can also attach additional specifications if you have battery capacity requirements, range requirements, pretty much anything else that you need specifics on, you can designate in a separate document to the dealer community so that they know what you're looking for specifically.
Yeah, that's really important, actually, just to identify in your additional specifications exactly what those requirements are for that vehicle, because everybody has a different, more rural areas are going to need a longer battery range than, if you're just driving around in the city. So it's very important that when you put your specs together, even to identify standard equipment, you just want to make sure that you include, anything and everything that you need that vehicle to be equipped with.
Yep, and that goes for some of the larger vehicles, generally class 3 through 8, which are, chassis body. We're talking more heavy-duty equipment or heavy-duty trucks. Also cargo vans, things like that. You would specify what you need upfit. Say you got a van that's a traveling office, right, for OPWDD or docs or whomever. You're going to want to make sure that you have all of that spec'd out ahead of time. Because you're really not going to want to have to go back and be like, well, I bought this van, but I can't use it for what I need it for. So it's just as important that you make sure you have all your needs considered before you send that thing out, before you send that bid request out to the community.
And if you're not sure, like as far as like EV specs or anything like that, the dealers' websites are very resourceful. You can actually go on any of their websites and build the vehicle. So if you're not quite sure what might come standard or what the battery ranges are, you can kind of do some research, on their websites to kind of see if there's any information out there. They're pretty resourceful.
Yeah, and so those tools are super handy. We've seen a lot of bid requests where they just pull that information straight from the manufacturer so that they know what they're looking for. And, but for somebody who's looking for an any make or model, that's equally important, and they want to make sure that they spec that out too. But let's see, I think we can probably open this up for some Q&A at this point.
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot more to...
Yeah, basically at the end of the day, getting an EV through the vehicle marketplace is the same as getting any other vehicle. Just you need to be knowledgeable about what you're looking for and know where to find resources for that.
And Seth and I are always available.
Of course.
If you have any questions and not quite sure where to go or, whatever, you can certainly call us at any time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can't tell you what to buy or, what you need, but we can always weigh in and help you find what you're looking for. So all that information is available in pamphlets. Also, we want to make sure that people are going out and seeing Conrad at the NIPA booth. I believe that's right outside here.
Yeah, it's just right outside the room here. He's a good resource.
I want to make sure I hit that before we move on to Q&A. So any questions? Anybody have any?
That was easy.
Well, that was easy. Yeah. Normally we get asked questions about the vehicle marketplace all the time. Suddenly people are shy.
What?
I mean, we can look at some forums. We got requests to look at some forums. Sure.
Yeah.
Bear with me. The connection's a little slow, but I should be able to. Let's see. Right now, I'm opening up what we call Form A, and that's the form that authorized users use to designate what kind of vehicle they're looking for. This is where you're going to let people know that you're looking for an EV, what kind of EV, who you are, Basically, all your basic bid information will be in here, if it'll load.
Yeah, mine's not loading either.
That's cool. Try downloading it on the side, see if that works.
Doing what?
I'm just hitting the download button to see if it'll pull the file. Well, it looks like our connection here may not be conducive to showing you this at the moment. I apologize.
Yeah, mine's not letting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not letting us.
Oh.
Hey.
Those of you who've used the vehicle marketplace are probably quite familiar with this form. Looks like each tab's going to have a little bit of a time here.
What did you click on the Form A?
Yeah, to go to Form A from the instructions. The first tab we just looked at, those are all your instructions. If you follow those to the letter, you should have a perfectly viable bid. People do get hung up. There are certain other things. If you're unsure about, does this come with that? Is this drivetrain configuration? Is this all-wheel drive, or can I only get front-wheel drive? Those are things you're going to want. You can reach out to us on. Sometimes you can just do a quick Google, but either way, the forms aren't smart enough to know that, so you do need to know that.
Super.
There we go. And so, yep, here's all the information. You would enter all your contact info, your general questions, and here's, mini bid process, type of vehicle. It's really down in the vehicle request information is where you're going to start.
So yeah, there's a section there where you identify. Mine's not opening, so I have to kind of go by what you're doing here.
Oh yeah, here.
But yeah, you just basically have to identify the size of vehicle that you need and the type of vehicle, and then it's going to ask you in there also your fuel type. So in there you would just select EV, simply, or if you need, there's that selection in there as well.
Yep.
So it really is just pretty straightforward. And when you're selecting like an any maker model on that particular Form A that we have, there's a separate options tab so that you can just kind of outline some of the things that you may not think of, like air conditioning, cruise control, Bluetooth, that kind of thing. So it's like a little checklist for you. So you can use that.
This form, we always encourage that if you have a very specific vehicle in mind or a specific need you're trying to fill, that it's probably best to do your own specifications to go along with your bid request, not instead of, to go along with your bid request. That can take the form of just a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, and you can just type out plain text what you want. These dealers know what you're looking for. If you put in trim codes and things like that, that's their business. They know that. So you can always attach that document to get a better drill down. Again, we do encourage you to be as broad with your request as possible to encourage participation from dealers, because intrinsically, the narrower you get, the less potential respondents you have.
Especially if it's an off-the-lot request.
Yes, there's two main kinds of requests we have, and that is a build to spec. And basically what you're doing when you're saying I want built to spec, you are putting a bid out there that tells the dealers that they're going to need to order this specific vehicle from their manufacturer. That is going to, and that's totally great if you have very specific need, and if you don't have an immediate need, they then go through their OEM and have that vehicle built to respond to the bid, in short. And then the other is
yeah, so the off the lots are
pre-existing.
The pre-existing. Yeah, those ones can get maybe a little bit tricky, and I know we have a dealer in here that maybe he can weigh in on it too, but it gets, because they're already there. So if you have a particular item that you need, or a feature that you need on that vehicle, and he has the vehicle, but it does not have Bluetooth or whatever, so therefore they can't bid it because it doesn't meet your specifications that you put forward. So The more general you can be, I mean, you need what you need, of course, so you have to list those items on your specs. But, if you can be broad, then be broad, and then you'll get more of a response.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably usually a good idea to ask yourself, is this something I absolutely need to do the job, or for the vehicle to do the job which I need it to do? Especially as we're seeing larger and larger vehicles are starting to become practically brought into the electric sphere. They're starting to be electrified. We're seeing heavier equipment go electric, larger trucks. You'll see a lot more chassis body upfits. So like class 5, 6, 7, these larger vehicles come with electric drivetrains or necessarily need to be built with electric drivetrains to meet the state goals. That's when you're going to have to be very mindful of your additional specifications, details about what you're actually looking for in a chassis and a body. And that'll come more into play in the next couple of years. Right now, I think we still see mostly light-duty vehicles, class 1 through 3, but the heavier duty stuff is coming, and it's going to ramp up in EV over the next few years. But,
Yeah, we're seeing more and more of an increase on that.
Yep, and we're working with other dealerships to get on board to offer even more electric options, especially in, as I said before, the medium and heavy duty spheres. We're onboarding all the time. And
Yep.
we're at a record high of 110?
110.
110 dealerships, so it's not too bad. All right. Want to talk about what?
So the mini bid process is when, so the authorized users such as yourself, you gather your specs, you identify what your need is, basically. Then, once you have that, you distribute them directly to the dealerships. So you're going to be corresponding directly with them. So in that time period, so for light-duty vehicles, typically you put those out to bid to the dealers for 5 business days, giving them the opportunity to view what your specs are and to put together the pricing and availability and such like that. So once the bid opening happens, you review them by lowest price, because this contract is designed to be fair and competitive bidding. So you wait to the bid open your bids, rank them and we also have a tool on the Vehicle Marketplace website that will help you in doing so. So it ranks it from lowest price to, and so on. So you reach out to the lowest bidder, review their specs, have them send you the build sheets so that you can match that to what you have requested to make sure that they didn't miss anything. So for instance, if you had a plow on your request and you've noticed that the plow was not included in the build sheet that they sent, you simply just reach out for clarification. Maybe they just missed it. And you always have to verify if they say, oh yes, okay, I missed it, make sure that the price still is the same. So you always just have to make sure as you're just doing your evaluation, and that's really what it's based on, your evaluation. So if in the event that you find that the lowest bidder did not meet your specifications, you would just simply have to move on to the next lowest bidder from that point. And once you've determined which bidder has met your specifications at the lowest price, then you move forward with the award. So we also have tools for you to send for an award and non-award to each dealer that has participated in your request. And you move on to the PO, and my recommendation is always to remain in constant contact with the dealers until that vehicle is delivered to you. It's very important. And we have all these resources available to you on the Vehicle Marketplace, from the instructions to the forms to the award to the ranking. So, but again, your correspondence is directly with the dealerships. And we provide the tool for you as well that gives you all the email addresses for the dealerships. Like if you're requesting any make or model, there's an area there where you highlight all the dealerships that we have currently on contract, and then for specific makes and models, you would just simply filter it by that OEM. So it will provide you with the email addresses for that particular make that you're requesting. So.
Yep. Yeah. So there's really three main. There's the bid request derivation, building your bid request, and then targeting the correct dealers, if not all dealers, and then shepherding the responses, doing Q&A and your award and your notification. It all follows kind of the same path as you would if you were doing your own full-size procurement, just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, the evaluation is very, very, very important because just recently we came across one where a dealer actually had put through some deviations. So there were some very specific specs that that were identified, and the response from the dealer was they couldn't get that particular one, but they could do it like as an aftermarket for them. So they didn't understand that it actually was included in the price, and so they really just kind of went on to the next bidder. So communication and clarifications are very, very important with the dealer, because it turned out that the lowest bidder was like $6,000 cheaper, right? And actually met all their specs, but that was all during evaluation. It was a lot of back and forth, but it saved them $6,000. But sometimes you have to do a lot of legwork, but it's very important. So.
Yeah, it can't stress enough how much it is to know what you need before you start filling out these forms.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the bids, the POs, they're binding, for the dealership, and when we make awards, we want to make sure we are making them in good faith.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And as we get into EV, which is somewhat of a new sphere, there's new products coming on all the time. And, we're trying to keep up with that. We update our distribution tool probably once a month. We always have dealerships whose contacts are changing. We're adding new dealerships all the time. So that's another thing I have to stress. If you are a regular user or even an infrequent user of the New York State Vehicle Marketplace, every time you do a bid, download the forms again. Don't use the old ones. Things change.
Yeah, because we update them.
We update a lot of the tools for functionality. We update the contact lists because we want to make sure all the dealers are getting a fair shake. Everybody's receiving that bid request you should be. So always download new forms. Always use the latest and greatest. So.
Yeah. And the dealers are very, they're very helpful when you have questions too. If you're not even quite sure what you're looking for or what may be available, you can reach out to any of them. They're always very helpful in answering questions for you as well. So you can use them as a resource.
And as I said before, we also have school buses and transit buses electrified on contract too. If you guys are interested in those. No? All right. But I am available to speak to those later if anybody has questions. But yeah, I open up the floor, see if we confused anybody enough to get a couple questions out of them. No?
I mean, did I cover the process okay for everyone? Do you have any questions on that? Okay.
No? All right, any questions? Anybody want to walk up to the mic? Probably don't even need to. You probably just yell them.
But we're available. We have a table also right outside the door, so you can stop by anytime if you come up with a question later on in the day, like, oh, yeah.
But be sure to see Conrad out here first.
Yes.
Then you can come see us.
Sounds great.
All right.
Well, thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your day.